I've had the '67 Chevelle sitting around for a while, so now, I think it's time to put it to use. As always, I'll use a 9/64 drill bit to drill the head of the pillars. Be sure to drill slowly, it's easy for the bit to slip off the pillar and into the chassis. You want to drill just deep enough to remove the flange at the top of the pillar. A little assistance with a screwdriver never hurts. I'll go ahead and drill the pillars out for the self-tapping screws. At this point, I'm not totally sure what direction I'm headed with this custom. At least I'll get it started, then give it some thought over the next few days. I do have some new tools on order to use with this custom, hopefully they'll be here in a few days. Now I'll use a file to remove any remnant of the pillar flange. This will make the chassis marry back up to the body without any issues. And now, I'll soak the chassis in bleach to remove the chrome. The whole process takes about 5 to 10 minutes.
Ten minutes later.
The bleach makes quick work of removing the chrome. You've watched me do this process many times in the past, so I won't go into great detail. Basically, I'm just using water to adhere salt to areas that I want to leave pristine and free of rust. This is always a good base to start with. Once the salt and water mixture has dried, I'll give everything a light coat of this Espresso Satin. It really mimics the look of rust perfectly. Again, this is only the first layer of detail. Before the Espresso Satin fully cures, you can go ahead and remove the dried salt. If it's difficult to remove, you can soak it in some warm water for a minute or so to loosen everything up. Once the Espresso Satin was cured, I reinstalled the windshield and gave the top of the car a light dusting of OD green. Now I'll use a shade of green and a shade of gray to add some moss to the body. This will be toned down a little later once the next layer of detail is applied. Be sure to hit the high areas of the body. Any location where water may settle or run. Now I'll give the chassis a good coat of matte black. The dogs aren't amused. Now it's safe to go ahead and put everything back together. From here on, any detail added will be added to the entire car. I'll list the driver and the screws that I use in the description below. As you've seen in some of my other customs, I'll use this black foil that I've already painted blue as a tattered tarp that once protected the car from the elements. You can cover as much of the car as you want or leave as much exposed as you want. I won't glue this to the body just in case I want to change it later. If you aren't subscribed to our channel yet, please take a moment to do so. Now it's time to start prepping the base. I'll take some 80 grit sandpaper to scuff up the plastic base. This will help the glue to adhere properly. I'll use some painter's tape to secure the base to my working glass. This just gives me some flexibility while working on the base. It also helps me keep all medium centralized to one location. Now I'll apply a hefty coat of white glue to the base. You can use other products such as Mod Podge as well. Once the glue is applied, I'll start coating the base with my sifted backyard dirt. After I've applied a liberal amount of dirt, I'll give everything a spritz of isopropyl alcohol. This will allow my mixture of glue and water to penetrate the dirt properly. The glue and water mixture consists of 1 part white glue and 3 parts water. Lastly, I apply 1 more layer of dirt. I'll then let it sit for about 30 or 40 minutes before removing the tape. It's important to remove the tape before the glue cures. I've got some new tools to try out on this project. I purchased some Woodland Scenics 2mm and 7mm static grass. I also purchased a Woodland Scenics Static King to apply the grass. Part number FS639. All items will be listed in the description below. The base has been sitting for 30 minutes or so. Now it's time to remove the tape. While everything is curing on the base, I'll add some highlights to the front and rear bumper, along with the side skirts. And now I'll add some gray tones to the tires. I'll add just a small amount of highlights to the tarp just to make it look a bit weathered. And now, I'll smooth it out just a bit, blending it with the darker blue. For the next layer of detail, I'll add some tail lights and some headlights. There are a couple of places that I want to add a black wash just to bring out the detail. Mainly around the trunk lines, hood lines, and windshield. And now, we're back to the base. I'll use some white glue to secure the car to the base. If I have to remove it again later, it shouldn't be a problem. Time for the first layer of greenery. I'll apply a layer of fine turf to establish the base. You can add as much or as little as you want. Obviously, the car has been sitting for a very long time, so there won't be any grass growing beneath the car. Once the fine turf is applied, I'll give everything a spritz of isopropyl alcohol, then apply my water and glue mixture to secure everything. Again, I'll let it sit for about 30 minutes, then remove the tape. This will be my first attempt at using the Woodland Scenics static grass applicator. There is a learning curve to mastering this process, and as you can see, I have a huge learning curve. Not a failure, but not as easy as I thought it'd be. Okay, so it works, but my expectations were way off. I'll have to do a lot of practicing to get this process down. I'm sure that Luke Towan has some videos floating around that will explain the process much better. I can already tell that I applied way too much glue. Again, this is a learning process, I'll keep practicing, so don't be too hard on me. Okay, I've done enough damage for now. I'll let it sit for about 40 minutes, then I'll remove the tape. After an hour or so, it should look something like this. Not too shabby. Once the glue is completely cured, I'll use a fine tooth comb or brush to fluff it up a bit. Just a reminder, all new patrons will receive 2 Kentucky Hot Wheels vinyl decals. Click the link in the description. Lastly, I'll add just a few weeds for the final layer of detail. I'll also add some sage to the top of the car to imitate some fallen leaves. And with that, I think we'll call this one done. This was a good opportunity to try some new tools. Obviously, I have to do some practicing with the static grass application. Overall though, I'm very pleased with the way this one turned out. Now she'll join the others. I'm working on a display for all of the customs that I've done so far. We also plan to give away some of the customs once we have reached 10,000 subscribers. If you enjoyed this video and found it useful, please be sure to give it a thumbs up, we'd certainly appreciate it. Also, please consider subscribing to our channel, we do a lot of neat projects.